the beach.
Oh, God.
All right. All right. Well, everybody, I am just so thrilled. I'm thrilled for you that you get to meet and hear from Debby Thomas. She is honestly one of the nicest, most enthusiastic, most real people you will ever meet. She's just super even kill, fun to talk to. Every once in a while, she comes into my office and pulls me down off the ceiling, you know. But she's a tremendous source, both in the College of Business, and she's got a lot of gigs outside of the College of Business, which just continues to make her so relevant. She's somebody you're going to want to get to know. So Debby, thank you very much for joining us, and I'm going to give it to you.
Thank you, Lori. I am so excited to be here with all of you. I love doing the Intro to Business class. Thanks, Lori, for the very warm welcome. I do want to say for any of you who have just popped on that we're writing in the chat box where you're dialing in from. We're doing that for a couple reasons so that we can connect with one another. I think one of the things that probably all of you are struggling with right now with the coronavirus is that feeling of human connection. And I know that all of your classes have gone online and that it feels a lot more distant. But I really do encourage you, you know, we can connect with one another in this way. And I know it's harder, but I do have a sense of human connection being with my students through Zoom. And I hope that you can feel that a little bit today too. And this is one way, chatting in the box and saying where we're coming from. It helps us to recognize where we're coming from to connect with one another just a little bit more. So today I'm going to do a couple of things. First of all, I am a management, I teach in the management major. I actually teach quite a lot in the MBA program and the Doctor of Business Administration program, and I do some undergrad teaching, but not a ton. However, I've been very involved in the management major over the years. So really today, I hope that you can get to know me a little bit and just why I love management so much, why I think it's such an awesome major. I hope that you can understand the major a little bit better. And for those of you that might be really great at management and haven't really thought about it, maybe this would be something that helps you think about it. And for those of you, there are probably people in this class that will discover, oh my gosh, I never want to be in management. That is so not me. And that would be a great, you know, learning outcome from today. Either way, I would be happy with either one of those. My name is Debby Thomas, and I'm going to just talk to you a little bit about who I am and what I do. But first of all, I'd like to get warmed up. I want to make sure that we have the opportunity to connect with one another in groups and that we stay engaged throughout this time. I really don't enjoy lectures very much, and I'm guessing that a lot of you don't enjoy lectures very much. So I'm going to pop in and out of telling you a few things and then having you connect with some other people on some things. So we're going to connect with each other right away. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you in groups, and it's random groups, so you don't know who you're going to get into a group with. But when you do get in that breakout room, what's going to happen, you will have a message come up on your screen, and it'll say you've been invited to breakout group 3. And then you join that breakout group, and all of a sudden you will just be in this Zoom meeting with those people in the breakout group. And you can all take your mics off and have a conversation with one another. And here's what I'd like for you to talk about. And while I'm reading this, I do want to let you know that you might want to take a screenshot of this, because when you get into the breakout room, this goes away. And you might be wondering, wait, what are we supposed to be talking about? So what I'd like you to do is share a time when you had a great manager or leader. What was it like? And just really think about, you know, when I had a leader, I did these types of things, and that leader did these other types of things. So really think specifically about what was it like when you had that great manager or leader, and then share another time when you had a really bad manager or leader, and very specifically, what was that like? And then after everybody has gone around in the circle and everybody shared a great manager experience and a bad manager experience, have a discussion around, what does this tell you about leadership? What can you learn about leadership from the conversation that you just had? I do have the ability to pop in and out of your breakout rooms, so you'll probably see me pop in there and see how you're doing. I believe I'm going to give you about 7 minutes for this conversation, and then I will be monitoring that kind of as we go. I do want to encourage you as well, at any point in time, during any time today, if you have a question for me that you can chat into me and I'm just questioning, oh yeah, Emily, thanks, you're amazing. So the questions are all in the chat box. And so Emily has them there for you so that you won't forget what they are. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you into 5. You're going to have 5 participants in every room. So there'll be 5 people in each breakout group, and you're automatically going to go in these groups. I do want to ask you to please put your mics on mute when you're in this large room, not because I don't want to hear from you, I do, but because we're trying to block out any background noise. And then when you're in the breakout rooms, you can go ahead and open up your mics at that time. Okay, so here we go.
Hi, Cody.
How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Doing well.
You got a gaming chair.
I do.
Is it sweet?
It's pretty cool. It's not very comfortable anymore though. I think I'm gonna upgrade here pretty soon.
Did you just wear it out?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Hi, Isaiah.
Hi.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
I think we should have a couple more. She said about 5 in each group. Just fell off your chair. Well, you want to get started? The first question she was asking us is, talk about a great manager or leader you've had. You have any examples of that?
Yeah, my first job in high school, well, my only job in high school. I started my sophomore year and worked there till my freshman year of college. Obviously, like, being able to do that, like, that's sweet. Like, being able to come home, like, from college and go back to a job is always nice. So, like, that's
Especially a
something
job, right? Not having to relearn. Yeah.
exactly. You don't have to go back through training and all that stuff. But yeah, and super flexible with, like, because I was an athlete in high school, so, like, being flexible with my schedule and allowing me to, like, get in good hours, but give me the time off that I needed for practice and games and things like that. And then just being, like, not super hard on employees. 'Cause I feel like that always makes a job harder. I mean, depending on the job, I guess. Like, sometimes there are times when he's hard on you, but most of the time it's just like, having a good time as long as you're getting your job done, So I think that was a pretty good manager for me.
What was the job? Can you share that?
Yeah, I worked at Papa Murphy's making
Oh,
pizza,
cool.
doing stuff like that. So yeah.
Great. What about you, Isaiah? Have you had a really good manager?
I guess I would say my dad. So my family owns a farm, and so I work a lot on and off for my parents just on the farm. And I would say my dad's a pretty good manager because he's really good at making things like explaining things to people to get people to do, like, it's easier to, like, learn, like, if there's, like, a new piece of equipment that I've got to learn, like, if I'm on a tractor and there's a new piece of equipment and stuff, my dad's good at, like, explaining and making it seem easy to be able to learn a new thing like that.
So good communicator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of farm is it?
We have Christmas trees. It's mostly Christmas trees, and we've got cows and hazelnuts too.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And where are you from? Where is the farm?
North of Hillsboro.
Oh, okay. North of Hillsboro. So in the Plains area?
Yeah, up towards, like, Helvetia, like, up there, like, the hills are right above there. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I'm going to get into more of this when I do my talk in a couple of weeks, but I'm with you guys. I think a good leader or manager is somebody that trusts you, that communicates well, that isn't fearful of you doing a good job. Have you ever had that type of person that you swear they just want to kind of put you down because they don't want you doing better than them.
Yeah.
Missing the key part of leadership, which is to really train you how to replace them. That's really what their job is. But a lot of managers are just too insecure to do that. So that flips right into who I think is a bad manager. It's those people that don't share, don't bring you along, don't use you as a coachable resource because they're afraid of any potential outcome where you might outshine them. But what do you guys think? Transition now into kind of bad managers. Have you had some bad managers? Don't say your mom, Isaiah. It's just not fair.
So after I left Papa Murphy's, I got a job at a casino doing valet, and I wouldn't say he's a bad manager, because like my Papa Murphy's manager, like he let me come back in the like I worked in the summers and during the winter, so like that was always nice, just being able to go back to my job. And he would give me 40 hours a week, so I was working full time, like
Nice.
when I'm home from school, making as much money as I can. And it's
Do you
just
have
like,
by the way, do you have that job again? I mean, it seems like Papa Murphy's is still in business, right? Because it's not an indoor sit-down restaurant. It's all delivery and
yeah,
takeout.
the manager that works there he's not the manager there anymore, so yeah. But yeah, so like he was good in that aspect, but I think he's definitely a little more hard on the employees that do good. Like there's obvious people that are the top employees, or employees that don't have to be told what to do, and then like a little more lenient with people that aren't doing their job, which is kind of frustrating for us, because for us, like we have to run a lot. Like we run like 15 miles in a shift, so like if there's people that are parking like 100 plus cars a day, and then you see other employees parking like 30-40 cars, and they're just walking, they're on their phones, like just things like that, and they're not really getting on them, or like letting them go, because like we have a point system there, so if you get to a certain amount of points, you're fired. Well, like I don't know, I just feel like he's a little less lenient with the people that aren't good workers, which make us good workers not want to work as hard, because we see like, oh, they can do it, like why should I have to work hard?
Yeah.
So I think in that aspect it's kind of frustrating, but
Gotcha. What about you, Isaiah? Have you had a bad manager or leader?
I don't know if I would say like really bad, but I worked at Topgolf for a little bit, and a lot of the managers there, like it was just like really chaotic because there was a ton of employees. So a lot of times they just didn't seem to like care very much about anything.
Yeah.
And that can make it difficult to like be enthusiastic about your job when you can tell that like nobody else is really like paying attention to the work very much because they're dealing with so many other things.
Yeah.
So I would say that.
You know that saying, you get what you pay for. Don't you think that there's something to be said for if somebody anticipates your behavior? So if they're like, they're just college kids coming back for the summer, and they're probably going to suck at their job, and that's all they expect you to do is suck at your job. That's kind of what you end up doing, because they don't give you any opportunities to do other than that, right? Anyway, all right. Looks like we're supposed to go back to the main session. See you back in there.
Okay.
Who has the dog?
Oh, sorry, that's me. I will mute my microphone.
No, it's fine. I love it.
Yeah, so those of you who are back here, go ahead and mute your microphones. I know it's hard to remember to mute and unmute. And so you chose to come back to the session when I said that it's over. And what will happen is everybody will automatically be here 60 seconds from when I closed the meeting. So that means in 20 seconds, the whole class will be here again. All right, so we've got about 10 seconds before everybody is together.
Hey, Lori.
Hey, Debbie.
Yeah.
Once everyone's back together, could you just remind one last time to sign in with their city if they haven't yet?
Absolutely. Somebody
Thank
had a
you.
question for Lori.
Yeah, Lori, would you like us to write our names in the chat like we did last time?
No, we're doing the exercise that Debbie's giving us. So write where you are at right now, whatever city, state you're at, and then that will be the same as adding your name.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I hope you had a nice time in there. I'm going to get a little poll from all of you. So this is what you're going to do. You go to your control menu. I think it's at the bottom of your screen. Mine is. And you make sure that you can see the participants. And then you will have the opportunity. Oh, you know what? I don't think it's on here. I was going to have you do the thumbs up or thumbs down if you liked that or if you didn't. But it looks like on this particular Zoom session that isn't enabled. So we're not going to do that right now. I do want to remind you, if you came in a little bit late, we just came from our first breakout group session. And we would love for you to write in the chat box where you're chatting in from, where you're coming in from today. And Lori is going to be using this for attendance, so it is very important that you do that. All right, I think that I heard some really great things in these breakout groups. I heard some stories. I just popped in really quick to each one of yours, came in the middle of some stories, some pretty awful ones and some pretty great ones, so that's good. I am going to ask somebody who was in breakout group 1. So Alex, Cassidy, Logan, Patrick, or Rayleigh, one of you, Relay, I don't even know how to say your name, sorry. I'm going to ask one of you to tell me what was one thing that you learned from that breakout group discussion.
I learned that we found that good leaders had like organization and communicated like clearly to who like they were leading.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful like for the group.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. What about breakout group 2? There was Andy, Donovan, Fofano, and Lane. One of you, what did you learn from your discussion?
Yeah, I kind of picked out 2 main qualities that it seemed like everybody appreciated and looked for was like communication, like accepting group input and listening to the employees and the whole team together, and also taking responsibility for actions. So like if a manager makes mistakes or implements practices that don't really work for the situation at hand, they don't place the blame on poor implementation by the employees or anything. They take the hit for that and take responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. So both of your teams talked about communication, the first 2. I think what you talked about with listening is really important as well, and taking responsibility for action. Breakout group 3, Abigail, Bailey, Dylan, Eric, Hudson, and Zach. One of you share something you learned from your discussion.
So the main thing, there were kind of 2 things that I feel like everybody in our group agreed with. The first one was that all the good like managers, we all kind of said that they had to earn respect instead of just they expected to have to earn respect and not just have it like given to them. And the other main thing was that the good managers, they showed that they invested in us, and they showed that they really just cared about us and what we were doing, and that they were always willing to just help us whenever we needed something.
Those are some really good points, and I almost hear you saying some things that for me talk about servant leadership. They cared about us, they knew us, they were trying to help us to be better. And I think this is one of the great misconceptions of management and leadership, is that the manager and leader is there to tell us what to do. And sometimes that's why we want a management or a leadership role, right? Oh, I get to be the boss. I get to make the decisions. I get to tell people what to do. And when you really look at good managers and good leaders, that's not what they're doing. They're doing a lot of what you guys talked about. They are communicating well, they're listening, they're building relationships, they're highly organized, they're respecting the people around them, they're taking responsibility for their own mistakes, they care about you as a person, they're helping you to grow. So nice, really nice job. I know that I only got through 3 breakout rooms, but we're going to have some other breakout group sessions, and I'm going to move through some of your other breakout groups when we get to some of those sessions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of switch over to me. I'm going to let you know a little bit about who I am and why I'm here, why I love my job, and why I love the topic of management and leadership, before we get more into this whole area of management and leadership. So here you see a picture of me and my family. Yes, I have a lot of kids. But to be fair, the 2 on the right are married. So he's my son-in-law, not my actual son. So see, I have less kids than you thought. All of my kids either have graduated from Fox, are in Fox, or will be in Fox next year. So, and my husband and I both graduated from George Fox University as well. We live here in Newburgh. We actually live in a round house. I bet you most of you have never been in a round house, but I live in a round house. It kind of looks like a soccer ball from the outside. So I spent a lot of years in the country of Rwanda. I went to George Fox University. My undergraduate degree was in elementary education and international studies. I met my husband here. I actually met him, let's see, it was about a week into my freshman year. And then we got married the Saturday after graduation. And we both wanted to be missionaries. We both really felt called to be missionaries. And it's a very long story how we ended up going to Rwanda. But we did. We ended up going to Rwanda. I know that this is a long time ago because it was like 25 years ago. But when we got called to Rwanda, there had just been a genocide there. And so it was a very, very difficult country to go to. And we, at the time when we were considering going to Rwanda, were pregnant with our first child, my daughter, Bree. And it was a really hard decision to make. We both felt called to go to Rwanda, but it was a very difficult country at the time when we chose to go there. We spent 20 years there as a family. So you're probably wondering, where the heck is Rwanda? One, it's in Africa, and you can see that little teeny tiny country right in the middle of Africa. I mean, really kind of in the middle of Africa. And Rwanda is a special country for a number of reasons. One, it has a quite high elevation, and so even the lowest parts of Rwanda are kind of in the 3,000 feet level. And it's called a country of 1,000 hills, like you saw from that last picture. It's very kind of hilly. So it's kind of always like spring there. You think Africa and you think hot, not really hot, just kind of beautiful. It is, although it's tiny, it is the most densely populated country in Africa, probably because it has beautiful weather. So this picture is not showing up great in this format, but one of the few things that is produced in Rwanda is tea, and this is a tea field and some kids hanging out in the tea field. Coffee is another thing that they produce. Sometimes Costco carries, and sometimes Starbucks also carries Rwandan coffee. And here's me hanging out with some people. That's our vehicle there, a very old Land Cruiser. And I spent most of my 20 years in Rwanda doing holistic community development. So I worked with whole communities to help them to figure out how to bring themselves out of poverty with the resources that they already have. So this is really not about me going and being the white woman who's saving everybody, right? And I'm going to build your house and I'm going to give you goats and I'm going to do this for you. That's not how it worked. I spent time in relationship with people in the communities. This is us outside, but here we are sitting inside, so you can see dirt floors, dirt walls, and really quite poor people living in the countryside. But I would spend time with them over the course of years, actually, in relationship with them and helping them to discover what are those specific things that hold them in poverty and what could they do, in what is it within their own power to do to pull themselves out of poverty. As you can imagine, this is a very long and complex process. The poverty that these people were experiencing was crushing, but I really went into that community with a very relational way of helping them to help themselves versus me being the one to help them. And I can tell you that this community here, you only see a portion of them in this particular picture, but I spent, was it 4 or 5 years, going weekly to be with them, and to help them think through their problems, never to actually do anything for them, but to help them to do things for themselves. And they have done so many amazing things. And every once in a while, my husband still goes to Rwanda regularly, and comes back with news from this community and other communities that I worked in. And they are doing amazing things today, way more than they ever did when I was there, because I was able to help empower them, and give them the power and strength to do things on their own. And since I've left, they have built a school. All of the people who met in this room have built themselves homes, and none of them had those before. They have improved their farming many times up to 700% or more. They've started businesses. They have improved their marriages. They've gotten their kids in school. I mean, they've done a lot of amazing things. And so I tell you this because it's a part of who I am. I spent 20 years in Rwanda, Africa. I speak Kinyarwanda, their language. I speak it fluently. And I learned a lot about leadership when I was leading. I led in communities, but I also led within the larger, we had 5,000 church members and about 50 churches in Rwanda. And I was on the leadership team for that as well. And so I learned a lot about leading as a woman in a society where women aren't usually leaders, leading cross-culturally, which is extremely challenging, and leading in a way that empowers people. And that was always really important to me. I think it's just a part of the way God made me, is that I love helping other people to thrive. And Team 3, I really heard you say that, when you were talking about management and leadership, it's knowing people and caring about them and helping them to become better and helping them to succeed. And for me, that really looks like an empowering leadership style. And so in everything I did, I would really try to empower people. And that means making sure that they are making the decisions, making sure that they lead their own way out of poverty. And why this was so important to me is that so many efforts to help people in foreign countries fail. People come in and, hey, I'm going to build you a house and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then they leave and then the house falls apart, or a windstorm comes and blows the roof off, and then people are right where they started. And so this is really about helping people to become all that they can be and fighting poverty on their own in a sustainable, long-term way. And this has become a part of my leadership throughout my life. I really enjoy helping people to be able to do things for themselves, and I really don't enjoy kind of micromanaging people or telling people what to do or making decisions for people. So actually a lot of this comes through my teaching as well. I tend to teach in a very experiential way. I tend to engage people within the learning environment. Whenever I usually do the intro to business, at one point, I'll have everybody stand up and move around the room, and we have a big, huge debate about different things about leadership, which is super fun. It's harder to do that here. We're going to do some other fun things here on Zoom. But you will find from me personally that that's kind of my management and leadership style, as well as some of my teaching style as well. Africa always gave me plenty of opportunities for excitement, but more than I probably would have chosen otherwise. My kids went to a boarding school in Kenya. We were in Rwanda, so this is like a couple of countries away. They had to fly there and then take a bus. And sometimes I'd go with them if I was going to go see one of their games or a concert or something. So this time I went with them. We get in the bus, the roads are muddy, and as you can see, the bus goes off the road and gets stuck in the mud. And the funny thing is, here are all these pastors in their suits and their really nice shoes pulling this bus, and I find that to be funny. But also that rope broke, so that didn't work out. We did get there. I can't remember at this moment exactly how we got there, but Africa was always a very exciting life. So I did holistic community development. That's what I did most of my time. I also started a number of businesses while I was in Rwanda. One of them was a tortilla business. Nobody made tortillas, so we did, and I trained somebody. She's actually still the only person who sells tortillas in all of Rwanda at the moment, and that business is ongoing. Another business that I started is what I called Ubuzima Moringa. It's the Moringa business, and Moringa is a tree. And the moringa tree has leaves, and the leaves, when eaten, have a ton of nutrients, and you can see their nutritional profile here. And there's so many good things about moringa trees and why I started a business with them. One is because there's a lot of malnutrition in Rwanda, and that this product can offer people a very strong nutritional base, especially with vitamins that a lot of people don't have in abundance in Rwanda. Another thing is that while most trees have roots that go into the ground and take up a lot of space, meaning that farmers can't farm, the moringa tree has a tuber that goes into the ground and it doesn't take up a lot of space. So it's possible for farmers to have moringa trees and still farm their crops, because one of the things that I had to be conscious of when I was running this business is that I was working with extremely poor farmers. And if I helped them to plant moringa trees and that displaced, for example, their potato crop, or any crop for that matter, their family could literally starve, not having enough food, trying to make money off of this product. And it was very important to me that I always had the best of the farmers in mind. And so they could plant these trees along with their crops and not lose anything from their crops, but then gain the profits from, I would buy the leaves from the farmers and make this, dry them and then make this powder. And the powder could be sold and just a little bit could be sprinkled on the food to add nutritional value. So the idea behind this business is that it is putting this tree out in the communities where any of these farmers could go out any day of the week and pick these leaves and cook them for their families, right? You can just throw them in soup or whatever, and they could easily get more nutrition. The farmers could also make money on the product. The product was sold locally in very small quantities, and so that poor people could afford it, and it offered nutrition. And so there was just a positive effect all around. There were no negative effects from my business, and I was always very careful to make sure that I was not having a negative effect on the environment or on people through my business. And so, trying to think if anybody has any questions along the way, you can always put them in the chat box there, and I'd be happy to answer questions. But that's kind of the basics around you know, the moringa tree and the moringa business. And then just one thing about me, I love ethnic foods. I get so excited about ethnic foods. My favorite, my kids know, if it's my birthday or any kind of special treat, I'm like food carts, because food carts always have ethnic and they have multiple kinds of ethnic, so we can get like different ones and we can all eat them. We had Filipino last night. That was really good. But anyway, I just love food from all different kinds of countries and all different flavors, and I just think it's amazing. So another thing about me is that I am a full-time professor at George Fox. This is my full-time job, but like Lori says, I have some other gigs that I do. And I do that because I believe it makes me better for you, for the students at George Fox, as well as I love doing it. So I work for a company called the Professional Development Academy. I train leaders in companies across the United States and in government organizations. We generally, at any given time, are training about 400 to 500 leaders at a time. So I'm a leadership coach for this company, and I'm actually the head leadership coach. So I lead a team of leadership coaches. Everyone on my team has a doctoral degree in leadership, and they each lead cohorts of professional managers who are going through this program. So I myself am a manager and a leader at a company here in Portland at the same time as I'm a professor as well. All right. So this is your chance to ask me questions. I know so far I've really kind of talked about myself and my own experiences and where I come from. I think that's an important part of connecting with a topic, is knowing the professors who teach that particular topic. So I will invite you, you can chat a question in the chat box. You just have to click on the chat icon at the bottom of Zoom. Or you can just unmute yourself and ask a question if you have one as well. I'm just going to wait here for a minute to see what questions you might have. Okay, Kyle has one. You mentioned you really enjoy empowering people. How would you do that if you're not exactly in a position of management? Kyle, you make a great point here is that, do I need to have a position to exercise management and leadership? And do I need to have a position to have an influence on other people? I would argue no. I think that we can all act in ways that are, we can all enact leadership even if we're not in a official position of leadership. And I think that we can influence people. Now, that doesn't mean taking control of a group when you're not the leader. That's not going to work. We all know that, right? But recognizing that anytime you show up in a group of people, you are influencing them. You are having an impact on them. And so anytime you show up in a group, you need to be thinking about, how am I influencing these people, and how do I want to come forward? And quite honestly, I'm in a lot of situations where I am not the leader. And I always try to come to those situations bringing my whole self, being fully engaged, and always recognizing, listening to the people around me, respecting the people around me, and trying to act in ways that help everybody to be respected. And for me, that empowerment means, it means that in that group, I'm not just looking out for myself, and I don't have to be the leader, but everything I do to influence that group, I'm always thinking of the different members and what's best for them. So Kyle, I hope I answered your question, but if I didn't, just come right back to me and I will try again. And then here is another great question. What do you think is the most important skill a leader needs? Golly, that is a hard one. So let's see. Okay, leadership is all about people. And so I believe that the most important thing that a leader or a manager needs to be able to do is care about the people, connect with the people, develop the people. Everything else will come from that. And you can definitely err in a number of ways while still doing those things. There's a lot of other skills. And of course, in the management degree, we would be teaching a lot of other theories and skills around management. But honestly, if you don't like people and you don't want to care about people and invest in people, management might not be the best place for you, because I do think that that is one of the most important things that managers can do. Eric, what is my worst management story? So I try and be a very engaged person. Whatever I do it with all my heart. I bring my whole being. I give everything I've got. I don't hold back. I've had a manager who really, what is the word that I'm looking for? I've had a manager who really kind of cut that off, who said, hey, why don't you do this? And gave me, kind of empowered me to do some things. When I did those things and came back and said, here's what I've got. Are we ready to go? I need your support. Didn't give any support for that, to move forward with that. Didn't even really believe that I had valuable things to offer. So that was difficult. But then when it got into dealing with that manager on a regular basis, it became very difficult to communicate, as far as you never knew what was coming, and this person might go one strange direction or another. You might end up getting accused of something that you're like, well, I don't even understand what we're talking about here. So in that situation, I struggled a lot, because what I had to do is I really had to shut myself down. I had to not bring everything I had to bring. I had to not be myself, because it couldn't work in that situation. And it was very painful for me. But there was no way for me to keep giving all I had to give and keep coming up against this resistance. And so it was bad. It was really hard. Thank you for asking that. So Jesse has a question. When you did your missionary work there, what prompted you to start businesses at the same time? How did that early process look for you? I'm a very practical person. When I got to Rwanda, I saw a ton of poverty, right? I saw all these people in poverty, and I'm like, oh, this is hard. And I'm a Christian, and I'm here to give them good news. What is good news for these people? And quite honestly, good news is, here's a way that you could be employed, that you could make money to feed your family, and God loves you, right? And so for me, I just had this very strong desire to help people in physical ways. And I must tell you, Jesse, that this was quite the process for me, because my mission was very spiritually focused, which is great. I was a missionary, right? That's why I was there. But I was also very much focused on people's physical needs and their spiritual needs together. I spent a lot of time figuring out how to do development the way that I did. And my mission board really struggled to understand why business was so important for me, and why I was spending time on business, and why I was doing development. And there were people on my board who said, we think you might not belong in this mission. We think either there's one of two things going on. Either you don't belong here because the stuff is weird, or two, we are missing something within our mission statement and who we think we are as a mission board. And the mission board actually sent out a group of people a couple of times to check in on me, to interview me, to ask me questions, to follow me around, and to figure out if I needed to be asked to leave or if they needed to rethink their mission. And after a number of these visits, they decided that they needed to rethink their mission. They recognized that they were missing something really important, that when they came to Rwanda and they saw the deep poverty and the way that I was addressing people's physical needs through business and community development, as well as their spiritual needs at the same time, they said, actually, we think you're onto something that we had missed. They went through a process of about 2 or 3 years of changing their mission statement, and they now have a new mission statement. So it's inside of me. It's who I am. I couldn't help but doing that. I almost got kicked out of my organization for doing it. And that wouldn't have stopped me from doing it. I would have had to find another organization that was more like-minded. But really what ended up happening is that even though I wasn't a leader, I had that board over me, I ended up influencing the board to change because of my actions and because of living out who God had made me to be in this particular situation. So Jesse, I do hope I answered that, but if I didn't answer it enough, just come back to me with another one. Elizabeth says, you mentioned I studied elementary education. What made you go into leading adults in communities once you graduated? I did elementary education. Quite honestly, I homeschooled my kids in Africa, and then there were a whole bunch of missionaries there who didn't have any option. They didn't know how to homeschool their kids. They didn't feel comfortable with it. And so I started a school. I ran a school for probably 10 years in Africa with lots of different kids. I hired teachers from the States and ran a school. So actually elementary education worked out pretty good for me. Just my interest in business and community development got me reading all kinds of books and becoming more fluent in business while I was in Rwanda. And I love studying. I love learning new things. So when I went for my master's degree, I did it in leadership, loved that. And then I wanted to do my PhD, and I'm like, what do I do my PhD in? What could be something that could be really life-giving for me and something that I would have to offer to other people? And again, the idea of business as well as leadership came up for me. And so I didn't, it was living life every moment and following God through all the little pieces of life, and that he kind of led me on this path towards business and leadership. It wasn't one day that I chose that path. It was a gradual type of thing. Madison, what businesses do you manage in Portland? How did you get started there? And what is your growth story? So funny story. Here at Fox, we have these speakers that come in all the time. We had a speaker come in. He was the CEO of this company in Portland. And I go to these things, and he talked about his company. And I listened to it and I thought, I don't see any way that I could really work for that company, but there's something here. I really felt like God was telling me, you need to be involved with this company. And I'm like, yeah, but what they do, I don't know. I don't really do that. It was an events management company. But I started looking into the company, and I found out that one of the people who is on the executive, one of the C-level, the executive people in the company, I had a connection with. And so I wrote to him and I said, hey, I don't even know what you do at this company, but if you ever need a hand, let me know. And he's like, okay, I'll let you know, but I don't need anything. And then 6 months later, I did the same thing. Hey, how's it going? What are you doing at that company again? Is there anything I can help you with? And he said, why don't you come on in? I'd like to chat with you. So I go into Portland, 10th floor of the Coin Tower, if you guys know the KOIN Tower. to quote unquote chat with this guy who I was connected with but had never met face to face. And turns out it was an interview. Turns out he's doing leadership training, online leadership training. Turns out he's writing a program for women in leadership, and his entire team is men. And here I am, a woman looking to be helpful who has a PhD in leadership. And by about halfway through the interview, he says, "When do you want to start?" And I'm thinking, kind of looks like I'm being offered a job, and this sounds pretty amazing. So I think from that, networking, just always networking, always reaching out to people, connecting with people, finding small connections that might not look like anything has really worked out for me. The name of the company is the Professional Development Academy. I do not manage the company. I manage one team. I report to the CEO, and of course the CEO directs the company. And I manage the team of leadership coaches within this company. There are 3 main sections within the company: operations, sales, and the leadership coaches, and I'm over the leadership coach section. So Madison, hope that answered your question. If not, come back to me. Nicole, have you had any influential mentors? Oh my gosh, my husband calls me a mentor magnet. He says, "Debbie, you are a mentor magnet." Anything I get interested in and I decide that I want to do, I find mentors. And here's what it looks like. When I wanted to do holistic community development, I thought, wow, this is a lot to learn. And I started learning. I took a class, I read books, but I immediately started looking for who is the best person on the face of the earth that I can find that does this really well. And that's what I'm always looking for. Who does this thing and does it well? How can I get to know them? What can I learn from them? And I did. I found the leader of a group of missionaries who does the most amazing community development that I have ever seen. And we've been partnering with them ever since. In fact, my husband ended up starting to do community development after I started it up after a few years. He still does that now. He still works for that organization now. And he travels all over the world teaching people development, the kind of development that we did in Rwanda. So yes, I have always had influential mentors in every area of my life, and I'm always seeking them out. Antoinette, and let me just get a little, I want to see what time it is here. 2:14. Lori, can I have a quick check on what time? 2:40, right? I think we're out at 2:40. Antoinette, where do you draw the line between making a decision for the group as a leader? Okay, let me give you a quick scenario. I teach this class. It's called Organizational Behavior. I hope that all of you take it because it's amazing. It's a senior level class. And I teach the class for the first couple weeks, and then the students take over the class. The class becomes an organization. They're in teams. They all have responsibilities. They teach the class. They give feedback. They do all the grading. It's like this huge organization, and they all work together. I sit in the back of the class. I'm the senior manager, and I let them make almost all of the decisions. The other day, this thing happened called the coronavirus, and the world turned upside down. And we had to go online with this classroom that's an organization. Well, my leadership style had been, I sit in the back of the class. I mentor students. They come to my office. We email. We're on the phone. I do all that stuff. But in class time, they lead the class. I am a very empowering leader. Well, all of a sudden, my leadership style changed because we're going virtual and we have no clue what's going on. So I got my head in the game, figured out, and I came to them and I said, here's the plan. Here's like the basics of what we're going to do. Here's what it looks like. Here's all that stuff. Now I'm turning it over to all of you to make all those decisions to make this come to life because you all are going to lead this virtual organization. I've just given us a new foundation in this new reality. So I took on more responsibility in a time of crisis, in a time of change, but at the same time, I'm giving them a ton of empowerment as far as how are you going to make this work now? And do you see any changes that we need to be making from what I said? So I hope that gives you an idea of, yeah, sometimes I need to make a decision. Sometimes I need to be the one up front, and sometimes I need to do that for my team. It's a back and forth, and it's never too much and never too little. How do I balance being a leader in multiple places well, comes from Linnea. I love living a full life, but I don't love living a crazy life, and I don't love living a life that's too busy. So I always set aside time for me so that I have time to exercise, I have time to be with my family. But at the same time, I can get a lot done. I can just get a lot of things done, and I can be very efficient with my time. And so I find that there's a really nice flow between the George Fox and the other stuff. I lead my team virtually. They are across the United States, so I don't go into the Portland office very often at all. And so leading a virtual team is kind of nice that way. And I find a really nice life balance between all of those. It's been a learning curve for sure. Andre, I love your question so much that we're going to do a whole activity around your question. Is there a difference between a leader and a manager? That's amazing. Dylan, what are some good ways to enhance your management skills? I think I have another slide here that talks about that a little bit. Just joking, not really. So good ways to enhance your management skills. In the management degree program, you're going to learn the theory behind management and leadership, which you really have to learn. Like you need to know this stuff. It is so helpful. But if you go away from George Fox with a whole bunch of theory in your head about management, it's not going to do you any good to become a manager because you can't do anything. So there's really this balance between knowing the theory and then being able to do stuff about it. And this is why I teach the way I do in my classrooms. There are lots of ways that students are engaged. Emily's taken a class from me before, and the students are just constantly engaged and taking responsibilities and doing presentations and leading things within the classroom and doing activities, because you have to learn the skills and you have to practice. And so some really good ways to enhance your management skills are to be learning the theory and then practicing it even in your job. When you learn stuff, make sure to practice it in your job. Even if you're not the manager, you can still practice a lot of those things. And then taking the kinds of classes that allow you to practice skills along with the theory is really good as well. Okay, so I'm going to come back to some of these questions in just a moment. I want to let you know a little bit more about what the management degree looks like. You take your regular core classes like you do for any degree other than economics. And then you take these classes. You take human resource management, and this is about, the human resource job, like within an organization, making sure that people have what people need to be, in a healthy work environment. And the human resource management class is a new one. That's why you see the XXX there. It's starting to be offered this year. We have just added it into the program, and it's going to be fantastic. You take leading and managing people, international management, operations management. Operations management is really about the nitty-gritty of how things work in an organization, how things flow, supply chain management, that type of thing, and then organizational behavior. And organizational behavior is about how organizations work, and when they don't work, what you can do about that. And that's the class I was just telling you about that is student-led, so that's a pretty fun class. But it's just these 5 classes on top of your core. If you are not a business major, you can always take any one of these classes as an elective if you think it would be helpful to you. What do people do when they graduate with a management degree? I just went into LinkedIn and I looked up some recent grads and kind of what they're doing. Management lead support, product manager at Nike, sales marketing management, event management and design, management analyst. The truth of the matter is when you graduate from college, you usually don't get a job in management. You usually get a job. But you get a job and you know how to influence people, you very quickly can prove yourself and prove that you are of management quality and move into management in any industry. So the management degree is very open. As far as you could work in any company, you could work in any industry, do a great job, let your kind of management skills shine within that job, and then move into management. And this is the slide that I was looking for earlier. And this is the argumentation behind why the management degree is a more kind of hands-on experiential degree. And I'm just going to read this. Studies by the National Training Laboratories in Bethel, Maine, and other organizations on how we learn have made it abundantly clear that for most people, the least amount of learning retention takes place through straight lecture. According to the work of the NTL, after a 6-week period, we will retain only 5% of what we heard. If we add visuals to the words, the retentive learning is enhanced, but our best learning takes place when we experience it or have to teach something to others. So in my classes, there's a lot of experiential learning where we have activities and exercises that we do, and then we practice management and we talk about management through those. And then I often have students teach concepts as well, because you never learn as much as you learn when you actually teach the concept. All right, so I know that there's still some questions, and I'm going to get into those, but I want to get you all back into groups. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have you discuss with your group why learning about leadership is important to you. Why do you personally need to learn about leadership? And really here we're looking for how is it going to make your life better? How is it going to make you better at your career? Maybe you already know you're going to be an accountant. How would learning about leadership make you a better accountant? Would it? You know, is that important? I'm going to have you go back into your groups. This is going to be a quicker breakout group session, and I'm just going to leave you in there for about 3 minutes. So you're each going to go around in the circle and share this. I'm trying to find my breakout groups, and Emily can post this in the chat for you. All right, so off you go.
We're back.
We're back.
All right. Why do you think? Why do you think knowing how to lead is important?
I think knowing how to lead in like a group setting, like if you're trying to start a new company or just, you know, come up with something new within that company, I think it's important to have someone to grab the reins and lead the group and get things done. Because if not, I feel like it's just gonna kind of not really go anywhere, just kind of be everywhere. So you just got to make sure you have that one person that's making sure things are getting done and helping it get along.
So what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. It's important to know how to lead, even if you're not like in a leadership position, because then you kind of understand what it takes, and it just makes it better for communication between people of different positions.
Yeah, I think you respect leadership. To your point, I think you respect leadership more when you understand how hard it is to lead, right?
Yeah.
I know I personally would rather lead a group of natural leaders than a group that don't know anything about leadership. And I swear those are the ones that just, everything you do is wrong. They just keep poking at every little thing, and they don't understand that you're not looking, you can't always make decisions for every single person. You need to make decisions for the greater good. And sometimes it's a company-wide decision, might not be your personal choice, but it's the best thing for the company. So, okay. I like it. All right. Good job, guys. All right, back we go. Oh, we have 53 seconds. Anything else you want to say? How many people work on the farm, Isaiah?
Well, it depends on the season. Like Christmas tree season, it's like upwards of 20, but like right now it's about like 10, 12.
And when does Christmas tree season begin? Is that September or October? Or?
Well, that's when we like start getting ready for it, but it's really November that it really starts.
So you don't ship trees, it's just a U-cut business?
Oh, no, we do ship them out too.
Okay, yeah, that's huge. All right, cool. Yep. Nice chatting with you.
All right, welcome back everyone. I hope you enjoyed that super brief time with your groups. I hope I didn't cut anybody off. It was pretty short. I'm going to start with breakout group 15 this time, starting from the bottom. And I would like to know what came up as the major reasons why you all need to be learning about leadership. Breakout group 15. So KJ, Matthew, Max, Noah, and Travis, one of you.
This is just kind of like my personal experience, but I see myself more as a follower than a leader. And I guess why it's important to build leadership skills is that so we can be able to like manage things is what we agreed on, being able to communicate at a agreeable level, being able to encourage others.
KJ, I cannot tell you how happy that makes me. The fact that you just said, I see myself as a follower, and I think that's important. This is definitely one of the things that I hit pretty hard in leadership classes. Being an amazing follower is one of the most important things you will ever learn how to do, and there's a couple reasons for that. Even if you're a leader, you will spend a lot of time being a follower. And if you can figure out how to be a really great follower, you can figure out how to exercise leadership and how to influence people from being a follower. And just think about any organization, like think about George Fox, right? We think about George Fox. How many professors are there? There's like 225 professors, and there's one president. Right? There's one provost. There are 5 deans. There are, I don't know how many chairs. There are some leaders. There's a lot of followers. Like in any organization, there are a ton of followers. If we could learn to be amazing followers, we could have a huge impact everywhere we go. So KJ, one thing I noticed from your response is it's honest, and I don't know. I just think that it's really great for you to even be able to say that, because I think our culture skews us towards leadership. Our culture says leaders are everything. Write this essay about your leadership, right? Have you ever had an essay written about how great of a follower you are? No. So we make it sound like everybody needs to be a leader. Only leaders are good. And then we make organizations with a couple of leaders at top and a whole bunch of followers. Doesn't make any sense. So followership is so important in this whole realm of leadership. Fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to go to group 14 now. Andre, Antoinette, Brent, and Sammy, can one of you please share why learning leadership is important to you?
Something that our group talked about was that being a leader and being a follower shows up throughout your whole life, whether it's in a job or just in a group that you want to be in. Like even in family or groups of friends, you experience like a leadership and follower roles, and just knowing the different traits and how that works within each relationship is important.
That was fantastic. Was that Antoinette? I think that was Antoinette. Fantastic. Yeah. What a great point. Like, in this class, you're going to have some, I don't know, group assignment, or in your other class, you're going to have a group assignment. You're going to be in a group. You're going to be a leader or a follower. You're going to be on a sports team. You're going to get a job. Like all the time, you're in this situation where you're either a follower or a leader. You're experiencing group dynamics. You're experiencing organizational dynamics. You're experiencing leadership from someone. If you understand that better, if you can look at that and say, I see what's happening here, you're able to contribute so much more. You may even be able to help remedy some of the situations that are very dysfunctional and causing negative things to happen within groups and organizations. So absolutely fantastic, Antoinette. Thank you so much. Breakout group 13, Allison, Kaden, Dylan, Elizabeth, and Jesse. One of you guys want to share?
I know for me personally, I had said that like being a leader is important to me because it allows me to help others grow and develop others. But in turn, I feel like that helps develop me as a person as well. And so it puts me in a position where I can start like a cycle of helping other people and then like growing with them. And I feel like it's just doing that in a unique way if you're in a position of like leadership.
Yeah. A sign of a good leader is a learning mentality, always wanting to get better, always wanting to develop themselves, and then also caring about others and always helping others to try and get better and develop themselves. There's some really interesting research by Carol Dweck, and you've probably heard of it. It's everywhere, about a learning mindset and a fixed mindset. And the more that we can develop learning mindsets within ourselves, the more that we are able to learn and grow and be the best that we can be. And the more that we have a learning mindset, the more we're able to help the people around us to grow and learn. So that's fantastic. Thank you. Let's take a brief look here at George Fox's mission statement, because, believe it or not, George Fox also believes that you need to be a leader. By the way, the only place that I know of within academia at George Fox where leadership is actually specifically taught in full classes is in the management degree. So this is okay, so this is a mission statement of George Fox College of Business, is to shape competent, confident, compassionate leaders who are ready to contribute. If it was me, I would say leaders and followers, but you know, you get the idea, right? Be known, be a trusted leader. Our core values: character, competence, courage, community. You can see that in the mission statement, we think it's important that you know how to lead. I also think it's important that you know how to be a contributing and an impactful follower as well, just like we discussed. All right. So we're going back to the breakout groups, and this is what we're going to do this time. You guys have so many good questions for me in the chat box too. I hope we have time to get back to them, because, like, seriously, you guys asked some very good questions. But here's what I want you to do in this breakout group session. I would like you to discuss in your group how management and leadership are different and similar. So that's one of the questions you guys were asking. And honestly, Google it, right? Find sources, ask Google what it thinks. There's a lot of opinions out there. It doesn't have to be academic stuff, but just really to start thinking about what are those differences between managers and leaders, and start to form an opinion. I am going to put in the chat box a link to a Google Doc. And in that Google Doc, you need to open it as your team, and you'll be taking some notes in there, and know that all 15 groups are going to be making notes in there. So there's going to be a lot of activity happening, but you're just going to jot down a few things that you're learning about management and leadership in the Google Doc. So Emily, I'll have you post the small group discussion questions in the chat box, and I will post the link. Off you go into your breakout groups.
Okay, guys, who wants to jump on the Google Doc? Where's the chat? What are we, did somebody grab what we're talking about? I don't have my chat. Oh, here we go. Get my chat. So. How management and leadership are different and or similar.
I think like management is just kind of like telling people what to do. Like you learn how to manage people, I guess. And leadership is like you're teaching people and like training them how to be leaders, like giving them good ideas and like things like that, I guess.
That's really good. So telling somebody what to do versus showing somebody what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really good. Can you jump on the Google Doc and enter that?
It's on. Is there one that she shared with us, or are we supposed to just make one?
I didn't know. There's one.
Because I don't see it in the chat.
I don't either. All right. What do you think, Isaiah? What's the difference for you between management and leadership?
Well, I guess they're not really like exclusive, but I would say just management, like just because you're a manager doesn't mean that you're a leader, I guess. Like I think you could be a manager without being a strong leader and without like having true leadership.
Another way to say it is a manager is often a decision maker, right?
Mhm.
They make a decision that can affect a person or a large group. And leaders aren't always decision makers. I mean, they're decision makers for that group, but not always, going up the chain.
Mhm.
That's all kind of nebulous. It's a harder one to describe, but I'm with you. Managers aren't always leaders. Leaders aren't always managers, I guess is the takeaway.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
What she said, look it up. So I looked it up real quick.
Uh-huh.
And right here, it's like just gives like what managers are and what leaders are. It's kind of just like what we're talking about. Like managers give directions, use an authoritarian style, tell what to do. Managers have good ideas, react to change, and try to be heroes. And then leaders like ask questions, have followers, have a motivational style, show what to do, implement good ideas, create change, make heroes of everyone around them, and develop power with people.
Wow. So you wonder how many people think of themselves as leaders when they're really just managers. They're just wagging their finger and telling you what to do and not even owning the repercussions of whatever that action might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It showed up that she shared the doc, but I don't know.
Another message came up. It said, just have the discussion. The link was working.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. Whoops, I missed that message that just popped up.
I think she said she just said the Google Doc wasn't working to just have the conversation.
Okay. All righty. So Cody, are you doing the casino job then? Is that your job for the summer, you think, or?
No, I'm graduating, so I'm actually a senior, so I'm hoping we find something other than that. But yeah, if not, I'm probably. He said I could come back, so yeah, if I can't find anything, that's where I'll be.
Awesome. All right. And what's your major?
I'm an interior design.
Oh, right. You had an interview. How did that go?
I was just supposed to meet with someone, but she was like busy trying to open up her store still, so we couldn't meet. And then I was gonna meet with her like the week that we were sent home, but then they ended up closing their store, so I wasn't able to actually like go and meet with her yet. So yeah.
It seems like there might be an opportunity, this make lemonade out of lemons right now, that there could be a whole lot of stores you could go in and do some redesign for them, and it won't impact business because they're not open for business.
Yeah.
Whether you hang your own shingle or look at other design companies that offer that that resource, it seems like you actually make yourself busy.
Yeah. That'll be nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Class time here. 32 seconds until everybody else joins us. All right, everyone, 3, 2, 1. Looks like everybody is here and back together again. I recognize that we're bumping right up against the last part of class time. I just want to ask you really quickly, you just had this discussion about leadership and management and how they're different. I'm going to give a couple of you a chance to talk, and then we're going to finish class. So group number 12, Alexis, Ashley, Devin, Emily, and Lucas, can one of you share something that you came up with about how leadership and management are similar or different?
We spoke about a lot, but I feel like this was kind of like the nail on the head, is leadership is more of a soft skill and management is more of a hard skill. And I feel like anybody can incorporate being a leader, but a manager has like things that they have to oversee, have to do. And I feel like you can incorporate a leadership as a manager. They're just kind of two different things. We put words to it. So like managers would oversee, they would steer and guide, and then leaders would lift, empower, and inspire. And so those are just kind of the stuff that we talked about.
That's amazing. Really good observations. I love it. Let's go to group 11. Austin, Isabella, Linnea, Samantha. Can you guys share something that you learned in your group about leadership and management?
Something we talked about, we did Google it just for a little support, but we talked about the main differences were between having people follow versus instructing them. So like guiding them versus having them work with you.
Okay, good. Nice. And group 10. So this is Amy, Catherine, Jessie, Kaylee, Madison. Tell us something that you learned about leadership and management, how they're similar or different. Group 10. Anybody from group 10?
We kind of talked about how as a leader, like you're more overseeing the vision of the group versus as a manager, it's more maybe task oriented and in the moment and instructing, whereas like leadership is kind of guiding towards a goal, and then management is kind of taking proactive steps.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and I am sorry that I didn't actually get to all the groups. There's a lot of groups in this class, but I do want to just finish up by saying this. You guys are totally on the right track. You're thinking about how management is different than leadership. You're showing that there are some gray lines between them. I heard group 12 kind of say, yeah, but we need both, right? We need managers and we need to be a manager and a leader. These are all the kinds of discussions. And from your chat box, you have so many good questions. And a lot of you are really getting into the types of things that we would be getting into in classes on leadership and management. What president do you think has the best leadership style? It's great to look at important people and how they lead and to learn from that. A minor versus a major in management. If you already have a major and you just want to pop over for a minor, that's a fantastic thing to do as well. It would give you the opportunity to just have some of those, leadership and management courses and theories on top of everything else that you're having. A number of the questions are around how do you find that balance? How do you not overdo leadership or underdo leadership? Really important. So I know we're out of time. I've had a fantastic time with you, and I've decided that I would love to have all of you in my leadership and management classes. So come on over. I would very much appreciate sharing a learning journey with you, and I will turn it over to Lori.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Debbie, I'm so grateful for you joining us today. And usually we give a round of applause, and we can't do that, but thumbs up. Great job. I hope you all appreciated what Debbie had to say. And if you have questions that you really are curious about the answer, they can reach out to you, right, Deb? Absolutely. Okay, cool. All right, just one quick reminder to everybody. I received a few reflections after Tuesday about the video. Do not send them in now. Keep reading what I've sent out. The date is Thursday, the 23rd. That's when all your journal reflections are due. And whether you use a Google Doc or a Word doc, each video, each speaker should begin at its own page. You'll combine those all together and send in one kit to Emily and I. Make sense? Yes? Awesome. And Isaac, no fair. You had help on your group questions. I saw that four-footed helper. Not fair.
Oh yeah, she's the best.
Yeah.
Couldn't live without her.
All right. Great job, guys. Thank you so much for joining. We'll be back at it next Tuesday. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thank you.
Later.